I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, for the most part, most of my life, and I was the middle child of a very strong Christian family. I have two older and two younger sisters, and so life was funny for me sometimes growing up, and I think my parents didn't quite know what to do with me sometimes. I came to Christ as a young kid, thankfully, but I was also the boy, and I upheld that responsibility of being the rebellious idiot that I needed to be, and gave my parents a tough time, off and on all through high school and everything. After high school, though, I took a year and worked with a mission organization in Australia and Mexico because I felt like I needed to figure out what my faith actually was to me, because growing up was more my family's faith that I had kind of adopted, and it had permeated me a little bit, but it wasn't personal. And it was a very good, very important time in my life. I learned a lot about who God is and in my relationship to Him. But in the process, I picked up a few fallacies, a few kind of false theology pieces that were I figured out later were kind of dangerous. When I came back from that, I went to Virginia Tech. I started as a freshman there, and I spent 5 years actually trying to earn a degree at Virginia Tech. Finally got that. I took the scenic route through, and it was a lot of. I really enjoyed it, and I got a wife out of it, and somehow I got an education and so on. But in my sophomore year, as I'm sure you guys are probably aware, knew what happened. April 16th, 2007, there was a shooting on campus, and one of my we weren't incredibly close, but we worked together. A friend of mine, we did ministry. We worked with international students, mostly Chinese students. We're friends with them, helped them with English, and tried to minister to them. She worked alongside me doing that. She was killed in one of the classrooms, and that and a few other events kind of brought things down on my head that year. I was a sophomore, and I was kind of lost because some of those fallacies that I was telling you about, the fact that kind of our relationship with Christ and the way He looks at us and the way He blesses us and kind of our lives are going to be an outpouring of how we love Him, I guess. And it's very, probably not explaining it very well, but it's a transaction. God gives me what I deserve, as opposed to God's love is free and He gives grace. And when this happened, it really shook my foundation of my faith, and I was pretty lost. And I spent the next year really soul searching. And honestly, I was fairly depressed. It was a really dark time. I just had a tough time socially. Had serious anxiety, and it was a really dark year. But during that time, God met me, and He brought into my life, in particular, one set of sermons from Tim Keller, and it was on Joseph, and it was about the title of the sermon series is "The Gospel According to Joseph," and it goes through Joseph's life, and I had some problems, but they were really in comparison to the rest of the world, were they that bad? No, maybe not. But to me, they were a big deal. But looking at Joseph's life, he was sold by his brothers into slavery. He was accused of rape. He was thrown in jail for years. He suffered for a long time, and he was an arrogant jerk of a kid when he started that, and he deserved every bit of it. But God loved him through it all, and God used it to change his character, and then in the end, He used it to save the rest of his family. And so God extended incredible grace to him, and it was just a very physical representation of the gospel. And I can't tell you how many times I listened to those 4 sermons. It was probably 20 times, all of them together, and God finally got through to me, and I was finally able to see the truth as it really is, and who Christ is, and that He loves us regardless of what we do and kind of who we are. And He pursues us, and He uses us for His glory, and also He will redeem us and those around us through our lives. I just want to read to you real fast Genesis 45. I'll start in 45:5. Joseph is talking to his brothers, and he says, "Now do not be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me before you to preserve you for a remnant in the earth, and to keep you alive by a great deliverance. Now, therefore, it is not you that sent me here, but God. And He has made me a father of Pharaoh and lord of all his household and rules over all of Egypt." And He forgave his brothers, and he was able to love God, and he was able to be open to God's leading because of that character developing time in his life. And it showed me that God pursues us, and that He loves us, and He gives us grace, regardless of who we are, and also regardless of the things going on around us. So our lives are not, the lives around us, kind of the world that is happening around us is not an indication of God's love for us, because God always loves us, and He's always going to be there. We easily forget that. So I just want to encourage you to remember that and to understand God's grace and the fact that He's pursuing you and loving you right now. Thank you.